Hello, Mr. Kitzmiller back again. In the previous video, we talked about how you peeled a carrot. We've gone over securing our cutting board. We've talked about our different types of peelers, two different ones right here. Maybe in a later video, I'll show you a couple other ones. But right now, we're focusing on getting our carrot into a situation that is better to deal with. Now, typically, a carrot or any type of classic cut, and we're going to start talking about some of our vocabulary. A bâtonnet or a julienne, those are all of our sticks. They are classically 2 inches long. Now, when we have our cutting board that I showed you earlier, the wood cutting board, that's why these numbers are right here. That way, if you wanted to measure out, this is a 1, that's going down to 2. Basically, you can see that right there is 2 inches. Now, when we're just practicing this, we're not going to try to get it to be exact. You always want to strive for as close as possible, but we don't have to be exact, 100% exact. But the first thing we have to do is we have to get these ends off of here. So our goal here is we're going to take the ends off, and then we're going to try to cut this into roughly 2-inch pieces, okay? So first off, claw. Got my claw technique. I've got my knife, I've got my grip right here, pinching it, fingers back behind it. I'm going to bring this, and when you're cutting anything at all, you always want it as close to you as possible. You also want your cutting board area to be free of debris. You do not want to have a bunch of stuff laying around, because what can happen is if you had this guy right here and you were trying to cut something, it might make it rock. If it rocks, it can go into your hand. We always want to be safe, so whenever possible, have your cutting board as clear as possible. This is a larger cutting board, so I could get away with having something that I have not cut yet over here. Typically, right-handed people work from right to left. That is not set in stone, but that is a safe way to do it. But either way, find a way that is consistent. So if you have your raw product over here, and you like to cut and you like to scrape your stuff over here, your cut material to your right, that's fine. I like to go from right to left. Anyway, so I've got my claw technique, and whenever you're cutting off anything, you want to cut it, you want to have as little waste as possible. So I'm just going to take my knife, and with my tip down, I'm trying to get you to see how much I'm actually cutting. I'm going to try to just cut the very tip of it off. That's a pretty easy cut, right? Not much to that. Now I'm going to spin it around, and I'm going to take this end. It's a little higher off. If you notice, it's a little higher than that, the tip of that, and I'm going to do my same claw. I'm going to cut down through it. Excuse me. Same difference. Now this has been cut. I'm going to take this over here. I'm going to try so you can see a different angle. Just a little bit right there. Notice all of my fingers are back. I'm holding the food with the top of my hand. Then over here, I'm going to put this down, tip of the knife down. Just going to slice right through it. Easy cuts. Now, can we use this stuff later? Absolutely. We can use it in a stock. It's not a big deal. So we save everything in the kitchen. Now, we said that our classic vegetable cuts typically start with a 2-inch cut. So what we normally ask the students to do is to eyeball. I'm looking at how many 2-inch pieces do I have? And then this size carrot, and this size carrot, typically I'm going to get 4 pieces out of it. So I might even start with just cutting this guy directly in half. Claw technique, right down the middle. Now that sound you heard right there is not good. If you hear chop, 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 that's either somebody being fancy or somebody who doesn't know how to cut. You want it to just have a slice, keep that tip on the board. If your knife is sharp, it will go directly down through it. Now notice I use the heel of the blade. I'll show you again over here. When I'm cutting back here, I like to use this portion because it typically goes through, you get more strength. If you notice, I've got it all toward my body. It's another thing, when you're using your leverage with cutting through things that might be harder to cut through, the closer you've got it to your body, the more power you have. If you've got it extended out here, you're cutting with this part of the arm, the forearm, that's not as strong as when you've got it right here. This is your bicep. So again, I'm going to take my claw technique. This time I'm just going to try to cut 2-inch pieces. I'm going to try to cut straight down as possible. I'm going to try to cut straight down. I'm going for 2-inch pieces. Now we can see how I did. This is the tail of the tape. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm not so good. This right here is 2 inches. I am about a 1/2 inch too long. About perfect. Pretty good. About a 1/2 inch too long. So not too bad. Again, we're just trying to learn we're going through how to practice on this. But you are always trying to shoot for 2-inch pieces. Now that is how you get your carrot down to 2-inch pieces.